Charges are being recommended against several people ranging from ages 15 to 53 after a pair of fights in Oshkosh over the weekend, one ending in gunfire. In First Alert Update, Drew Best spoke to Oshkosh police about what could have been a much more dangerous response.
4 adults and 2 teens could soon be facing criminal charges following 2 large fights in 2 separate locations on Saturday. The first altercation taking place at Oshkosh's Pollock Pool on its first day open of the season, and later continued outside a home almost 2 miles away.
When we were alerted to both disturbances, we immediately responded to both of those locations to make sure that everyone was safe.
The initial fight started after an adult near a pool basketball game was splashed with water and hit with a basketball. The adult would then push a teenager, leading to a much larger disturbance involving several people. Almost 2 hours after police responded to the pool, the fight continued outside a house on East Melvin Avenue. One of the participants, a 20-year-old woman, eventually fired a gunshot into the air before handing the weapon to another person. This led to the second police response, where officials recovered the weapon and took the woman into custody. No one was seriously injured in either altercation.
We want all community spaces to be safe places for people to enjoy, and we urge people to call us right away if possible before disturbance escalate into even larger disturbances.
Pollock Pool officials have declined to comment on Saturday's events. 4 of the 6 individuals who were recommended charges could face at least 1 felony count in connection to Saturday's disturbances. Reporting in Oshkosh, Drew Best, Action 2 News.